everyone, my name is Nika, and today we will be starting a very exciting project, which is the gingerbread blanket crochet along, and I'm so excited to take you guys along on this journey with me. If it's your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Nika, and I am a knitter, crocheter, and a general craft tea person living in Seoul, South Korea. And if it's not your first time on my channel and you're a returning viewer, hi, long time no see. It's been quite a few months since I saw you last. I will explain at some point what's been going on in my life and also what projects I've been working on for those few months. But for now, I just want to say that I really appreciate you being here, and I'm so excited to be back on YouTube. But we'll get back to that later. For now, let's just jump straight into this project because my hands are itching to cast on this project. Cast on? Is that just a knitting term, or can you say that for crochet as well? Anywho, let's jump straight into this. As you can see behind me, I have so much yarn in so many beautiful colors that I'm itching to work with. To start off with, what are we working on today? Well, we are going to be working on the gingerbread blanket crochet along. For those of you who may not be familiar, a crochet along is a type of project where people from all over the world, or it can be within your community, work on something together at the same time. I know this is a very vague definition, but for instance, for this crochet along, it means that people from all around the world will be working on the same design, which is the gingerbread blanket, at the same time in real life, like we're all working on this right now at this point in time. I know for other cases, I've seen, for example, people are working on socks at the same time, so it wasn't tied to a specific design. Everyone was working on socks in general within a certain month, but as it is in this case, it can be tied to a particular design or pattern. The most wonderful thing of a crochet along for me is the community, because personally I don't really have any real life friends with whom I can share the joy of crocheting. So working on something like this blanket together with people around the world just makes me feel less alone in the craft, and sort of like we're creating something together, and it does really bring a lot of joy and motivation into the process of creating this blanket. Let me tell you a little bit about this design. The Christmas gingerbread blanket crochet along is hosted by Sirdar, which I believe is a yarn producer, and the blanket itself was designed by Lindsey from Lottie and Albert. And I will insert a picture somewhere here of how the finished blanket will look like. The pattern for this blanket is going to be released over the course of 6 weeks, so every week a new part of the pattern will be released. And yesterday the first part of the pattern was released, and I've been just itching and craving to get starting on it, but I was so tired last night, and it was released, I believe, in the morning in the UK, which was already evening in Korea, so I specifically made myself wait until today, so the day after, to get started, because I knew if I dug into it yesterday, I would not have slept. I would have probably crocheted through the night. So, with all of that being said, the final blanket size, I believe, is going to hopefully be 155 by 155 centimeters, so it's going to be quite a big blanket. It is, as I mentioned, Christmas themed. It's currently, October the 17th, which for some people may be arguably a little bit too early to get into Christmas spirit. Not for me. I've been waiting for Christmas. Another part that I want to mention is that this crochet along comes with a yarn kit that you can purchase from Sirdar, or you can purchase it from one of their distributors. Unfortunately, most of them, if not all, are based in the UK, and so when I was trying to see if I can purchase the kit, the shipping costs to Korea were quite high. So I have made the executive decision to substitute the yarn for a yarn that is sold here in Korea. And I tried to match the amounts and colors as best as I could. We'll see how that turned out, but I'm feeling quite hopeful. I do think that the yarn that is suggested in this project, or that is sold in the kits, it's called the Hayfield Bonus Double Knitting Yarn. I think it's a little bit thicker than the yarn that I purchased. Hopefully I can still use the same crochet hook. I did make a teeny tiny swatch when I first received this yarn, and I think it should be okay, but I'm just going to jump into the project, see how week 1 goes, and if I'm getting the texture and the size that kind of is suggested in the pattern, that I'll just continue using the suggested 4mm crochet hook. If not, I can always just frog and use a smaller hook. But I just couldn't pass along on this design. It was just so beautiful and magical. This is my first crochet along, so I'm incredibly excited to take part in this. There's also a Facebook group where people just post their progress. They post any questions that they have about the pattern. So I'm excited to be part of that and see how everyone's projects are going along as well. Thankfully, the pattern comes with video tutorials as well. So when week 1 of the pattern was released yesterday, there's also a 2-hour long video that was released to help you get started on the project and kind of crochet along with. So I'm excited to check that out. I'm eager to get started. I think I've covered all the information that's needed. I'm so excited. Let's get started. Just an evening check-in with you. After I started working on the blanket, I got about, I think this is row 5, so I got to about the end of row 5, and then it was time for us to go on a run. So we went on a run. It was really beautiful. Today is full moon. I'm going to go take a shower and then we'll have some dinner. And then for the rest of the evening, I plan on working on this for as much as I can. Some first thoughts and impressions. I'm really satisfied with the tension that I have going on here and the texture that this yarn and the 4mm hook is giving me. So I don't think I need to use a smaller hook. I was worried that this would give me maybe like see-through texture, a bit like floppy texture, but no, I think this hook size is actually perfect for this yarn. I'm yet to measure how big this gingerbread will turn out to be, but you know what? Even if it turns out a bit smaller than what is specified in the pattern, not a big deal to me. I'm just happy with sort of the texture and how this looks like so far. So yeah, I'll keep working on this. The only thing I have to be a bit careful about is, if you can see, this is the end and it separates into individual strands quite easily. When I'm working this yarn, sometimes like individual strands get caught, so I just have to be careful about it. TLDR, very satisfied with how it's going so far, and I'll keep you updated as I keep working on this in the evening. I'll check back with you a bit later. Just wanted to share an update with you from 2 days later. I started this project on Thursday and today is Saturday. So yesterday I had some work to do and just other things during the day. And then I was able to get some crocheting done last evening and this morning. And I'm so excited that I'm done with the gingerbread house. So now I have to do the borders, I guess, in mint and red colors. And I'm looking forward to that so much. So far, I'm really happy with the tension and how the gingerbread house is looking. I ended up just going forward with my 4mm crochet hook. And I think it's giving me a really nice texture, nice feel of the fabric. It's not too tight, it's also not too loose. I am quite a tight crocheter, especially when I have to focus and kind of not just go with the flow, but do things more intentionally. I end up putting a bit more force into my stitches, so you can see that in the actual gingerbread house, like the fabric is a bit tighter in the center when I had to like switch colors and such, but then around the borders when it's just rows of white, it's a bit looser. But I think I can just, block this and make this a bit more even. I measured how many stitches I have in 10 centimeters. I think my blanket will turn out to be smaller in size than what is intended in the pattern. It doesn't bother me that much. As I mentioned, I think the yarn that I'm using is a little bit thinner, but as long as this blanket gives me the texture that I enjoy, I'm not mad about having a slightly smaller blanket. And of course, I'll measure the final square once I have all the borders and compare it to the actual size, just so I can estimate how much smaller it will be. But yeah, so far, really happy with the progress. I have to go run some errands now, and then we're gonna go on another run. But after that, I think I'll try to work on the border in the evening, and I mean, we'll see how fast I can finish this, but definitely I can finish it this weekend because I don't really have any plans tomorrow either. So yeah, super excited about this, and I'll get back to you guys when I have another update on this. It's looking so great, isn't it? Okay, I'll talk to you later. Good morning, everyone. It is now Monday, and yesterday I was able to finish week 1 of Gingerbread blanket crochet along. I finished all the stitches in the first half of the day, and then I did some blocking on the gingerbread house in the afternoon. And this morning I weaved in some last bits and pieces, so now I can share with you the final result of week 1. I am so happy with how this turned out. Let me give you a close-up of how it looks like. So this is how it's looking like on the front, and I am so proud of this. This is how the back is looking like. I was able to kind of work over any of the floats when we were pulling different colors of yarn across the stitches, and I'm so happy that on the back side it looks just as good as it does on the front side, to be honest. I am absolutely loving it so far, and I just wanted to share with you some thoughts and opinions I have about week 1 and this crochet along in general. So first of all, as I mentioned, the yarn that I used for this project is a bit, I think, thinner than the yarn that's suggested, and I knew that going into the project, and I was kind of expecting the blanket to turn out a bit smaller than the expected finished size, and that is indeed the case. I believe this piece is supposed to be measuring 35 by 35 centimeters. Mine is measuring 29 by 29, so there's a 6 centimeter difference It doesn't bother me too much because I don't mind if the blanket turns out a bit smaller. We don't have much space in this apartment, so a smaller blanket just means that it occupies a bit less space, but it still presents this beautiful design and gives off all the Christmas vibes that I need from this project. So not a problem for me at all. And I'm also getting the texture and the feel that I want from using this yarn with the suggested 4mm crochet hook. So if I wanted to make this any bigger to match the gauge, I would have to go up in hook size, and I don't really want to do that because I already like how this feels and how it like drapes. If I went any bigger, it would probably create a more loose appearance, which I don't think I would enjoy, so I'm really happy with how it's looking so far. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about the colors that I used. So, as you can see, the gingerbread, the house that I have, is made using this brown yarn, and originally the yarn that is used in the pattern is a different color from the gingerbread house. So the yarn that they use, I believe it's called golden. So it's this golden color, but in my eyes, it kind of looks a bit mustardy. Like it reminds me of mustard. I wanted to buy like a similar color, but this yarn didn't come in that mustardy color. So I ended up purchasing one that most closely resembled that. And honestly, I think that turned out for the best. I actually really prefer the color that I'm using right now. I think this is the perfect gingerbread color match. So yeah, really happy with that. Really happy that I ended up choosing this color. Another thing, if you can look at my borders right here, I'm using this red color as the final border. And initially, the color that I ended up using for this was supposed to be a different color. So let me explain. In the pattern, there's two red colors that you need. One of them is called Ladybird, which is a more deeper Christmassy red, and another one is called Tomato, which is a brighter red. So actually this one is supposed to be worked with Ladybird, which is the deeper Christmassy red. And when I looked at people's photos of their projects on Facebook group, I think this color matches it quite well. Maybe it's not as deep or saturated, but I think in my eyes it's still like the perfect Christmassy red. But this color I initially purchased to substitute for the tomato yarn, which is the brighter red, which we haven't used in the pattern yet. So let me explain what happened. So I bought two colors, right? One is red and one is brighter red, and they're literally called red and bright red. But if you can see, the one that is supposed to be red, it's more pinkish. It's kind of like wine color, like deep raspberry color. And I started working with it and it just didn't look right. Especially together with this mint color, it was looking too purpley, too pinkish, and it wasn't giving me any Christmas feels at all. So I ended up going for this one instead, which again is supposed to be this bright red, but I don't think it's as bright as I was expecting it to be. So I ended up using that for this. So TLDR, I'm using the yarn that I bought for tomato to use for Ladybird instead, but now I don't have the yarn for tomato, which is the brighter red. And I was checking the yarn that I purchased and whether it comes in any other brighter red colors. It didn't. I think my game plan is going to be, I'll keep using this color to substitute for Ladybird. I might run out of it. We'll see if I need any more. I'll just purchase some more. I think the delivery time is like 2 days here, so I'm not really worried about that. I believe for the sections where tomato is supposed to be used, that's mostly the fairy lights and then on the wide border. And I think for both of this, I can just use this wine color. I think that will work. We'll see how it goes. I might have to change it at some point through, but I'm not really worried about it. It's a blanket, it's not a one color piece, so I can just mix and match and find whatever color combinations I think will look best. But yeah, for now, this is the red that I used and I'm really happy with it. Overall, I'm very happy with the yarn that I ended up choosing for this project. I think it's working out great, so yeah. Really happy with that. Now, I also wanted to give some of my thoughts on the actual blanket design and pattern that was created for this crochet along. It was created again by Lindsey from Lottie and Albert. I think it's such a beautiful Christmassy design and it's already getting me into the Christmas atmosphere that I love so much this time of the year. Reflections on week 1 specifically. I absolutely love how the stitches are designed, especially from the gingerbread house, because it gives this appearance of having these blocks of 3 stitches. So it's kind of like a brick house. I really love that division and the way that the rows are designed. Color switches are not visible at all. And you even have these like white lights on the house, which I absolutely love. And I really love this wave design on the border as well. Another thing that I really am enjoying about this crochet along is there are videos that Lindsey created. So there is a 2-hour long video for week 1 where she crochets along with us and explains to us all the important parts of the pattern, how to change colors, how to make all the stitches. It's great. I've been referring to the video throughout this whole week, so I've really enjoyed having that. I did want to point out some of the aspects that were a bit hard for me about the pattern, just to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect from this project if maybe you're considering going into this crochet along or making this blanket after the crochet along has ended. So at least in week 1, there's been at least one error in the written pattern and at least one error in the video guide that I have noticed and that people on Facebook have also noticed. So in case you're making this, just be mindful, and I highly encourage you to refer to the Facebook group because people have pointed out that error and have also made the necessary corrections, so you can refer to that when you make your own piece. When you make the pattern, just try to refer to both the video and the written instructions. It really helps. Regarding the written pattern, personally, I have found it so far to be a bit challenging to read and follow. Of course, this is all personal preference. First of all, the pattern itself, the way it's written, it's split into like 3 columns, which I found a bit hard visually because personally I prefer my row to be kind of across the page, just so I can see the instructions for the row written out like in one line. It's a bit hard for me to read across multiple lines, especially when there are repeats in the row. Just a personal visual preference, but yeah, it's a bit challenging. And another thing is every row is written in a lot of detail, which could be a good thing for some, but personally I found that after the first couple of rows I kind of learned how we need to make them. So for future rows I kind of wish we had just simple instructions of repeat this block, this white block 5 times, repeat this brown block 7 times, and then this white block 5 times, for example. But instead it was written out in much detail every single row, so I had to kind of skim through and find out and kind of like absorb and find the numbers for each row. It was a little bit tedious for me, so I kind of wish we had maybe one row written out in detail, and then for subsequent rows it will just refer to that description and just provide us with the numbers of how many repeats we have to do for each. But at this point, like, I'm nitpicking. This is just my personal preference. I'm sure there are some people that really enjoy that amount of detail that goes into every row, so just throwing it out there, just be mindful. I believe week 1 of the written pattern is already available for free for everyone, so if you haven't purchased your bundle yet, maybe just download the pattern and see if it's something that you think you could follow along to, and then make your purchase from there. And a last point I wanted to mention about video guide, I believe someone mentioned this in the YouTube comments as well, but I found it a little bit challenging to follow along with the video, especially for the white yarn parts, because Lindsey used white yarn on a white background. And the way it was shot from a little bit far, so it wasn't always easily visible which stitches she was going in. Of course, like if you're viewing this on your phone or tablet, you could always zoom in. But again, at this point, I'm nitpicking, and this is all just personal preference. The design itself, I think, is wonderful, and the fact that you have such a detailed written pattern and a video guide, I think, is extremely helpful. So overall, I'm truly enjoying this crochet along so much. I've been so happy to refer to the Facebook group and see everyone's progress, see everyone's comments and questions, and also like having people point out, oh, there's a mistake in this row. So when I go to make the pattern, it saves me time, and it's just such a wonderful community aspect about this that I am really enjoying. So yeah, I've been yapping for a very long time right now. Overall, I'm very happy with how it's going. I cannot wait to start week 2. I hope if you're making this blanket as well, I hope you're enjoying the process. Please let me know how week 1 has gone for you, or if you're still making it. Good luck with your progress. I will end this vlog right here, and I will see you next week for week 2 of the gingerbread blanket crochet along. Bye!